The Vermont State House is a building that was built in 1859, and what's truly remarkable about our State House is that we have most of the original gas lighting still in existence in the House and Senate chambers that are occupied by the legislature. Here in the House chamber, the chandelier is one of the most important monumental chandeliers in the United States, lit entirely by gas when it was installed in the 1850s. If you look closely at the center of the chandelier, it has 4 allegorical figures representing commerce, prudence, eloquence, and science. In between each of those allegories is a copy of Hiram Power's famous statue, The Greek Slave, a nude woman with chains dangling from her wrists. The Greek Slave was one of the most wildly celebrated works of art in mid-19th century America, a symbol for the abolition of slavery, which was, after all, the hot political issue in Vermont and throughout the nation in the late 1850s when the State House was built. But in addition, she also was created by Vermonter Hiram Powers, and that's probably the reason why she appears on the chandelier not once, but 4 times. Throughout the chamber, we have all kinds of gas lighting, as well as throughout the entire State House.
The House received committee assignments this week, and after 10 years on first Health and Welfare and then Human Services, they sort of renamed the committee 2 years ago. I'm now on the Institutions Committee, and it's a committee I hadn't thought about in the past, but the Speaker asked me about it last Friday and suggested that because she'd like to make it more of a policy committee than it's been in the past, I might be interested in it, and when we started talking about it, it made a lot of sense. Among other things, it's going to be taking up a lot more correctional policy, and Barry certainly has some correctional issues that we can deal with. And it also is going to be dealing with the closing of the state hospital and the building of another facility. And in the last 10 years on health and welfare, I've been involved in that sort of thing, and I have a continuing interest in it. So I'm looking forward to working on that and on this new committee. I haven't lost my interest in health care, though, and I've just come from a briefing on health information technology and some of the things that we're doing there, and I think Vermont has become a leader in that field. I've been saying for years that Vermont's health information technology is primitive, as is all the nation. And if you go into a physician's office, you find walls of paper records, and one office finds it difficult to talk to another. And we're trying to fix that, and we have a group called Vital Vermont Information Technology Leaders that's working on it. They've just filed a report. And I think we're going to be making a lot of progress and going online with certain aspects of the system as of July 1st this year. So I'm looking forward to that, and as I say, I hope to continue to keep active in the health field as well as this new field that I've been assigned to.
Nice to see everybody again. Things that we did this week so far at the State House. We had committee assignments given out. That was one of the first things that we did. That was very important to all of the members. I ended up on the Healthcare Committee where I was last year, and I'm very happy about that. As a matter of fact, I'm in one of the leadership roles in the committee this year. We've already had several committee meetings. We've discussed what we're planning to do in the next couple of 3 weeks. We've also we have 5 new members on the committee. We're trying to bring them up to speed on what we did last year and the year before that. and so that they're able to provide input in terms of where we go from here. In doing that, we provided background information on the Vermont Blueprint program. We provided background information on the Healthcare Affordability Act that we passed last year, and that included Catamount Health and the prescription drug program as well. We had a demonstration of the information technology program that will be implemented in this year. I believe St. Johnsbury and another community is going to be involved in that. And then there are 4 additional communities that will come online, one of them being Central Vermont. So those are the kinds of things that we've been involved with so far. There's a lot of enthusiasm in the building. People are looking forward to getting involved in their committee work and doing things for the people of the state of Vermont. Thank you.
Yes, hi. Today is Wednesday, January 10th. Yesterday we received our committee assignments, and I was very excited to be named to be on the Education Committee. It's something I really had wanted and hoped for, so I'll be able to address issues that are very near and dear to my heart, particularly technical education and how we deliver that. It's very important to our employers. It's also an alternative, certainly, to college. A lot of kids just are not ready for college and not interested in college, can't afford college, and I think that we really need to reach out to students and let them know that there's alternatives, and technical education is certainly one of those alternatives. The committee is starting with 3 questions. The chair put up on the board the questions that are: 1, what do we expect from our schools? 2, what is the most cost-effective way of meeting those expectations? And 3, what is the fairest way to pay for these? Obviously, in all of our campaigns, we heard about property tax. For me, it's not just property tax, it's really the overall tax burden, but clearly property tax being one of those components. So I'm very excited to be on this committee. Today we spent time hearing from the Department of Education, from the Board of Ed, from a couple of the associations, superintendent associations, school board associations, and this afternoon we really focused on who else do we want to hear from that could help us answer that very first question, which is what do we expect from our schools. There'll be a lot of outreach, I know. I really encourage people to call me. At home, it's 476-8411, and my email address is at home is patmcdonald8411@charter.net, and I also have my legislative email. But I would very much like to hear from everyone in the area. This is critical. It's a critical question and very important for all of us to be part of the process. So thank you.
Good to talk to you again. We're in our second week down here, of course, at the legislature, and the bills are starting to come in. We're already up to House number 35, so in 3 or 4 days of just being here, we've gotten a good start. Now, this week, the biggest item was on Tuesday. We all got our committee assignments, and Central Vermont is pretty well placed. We have 1 member on transportation, some on human services, on education, and I am vice chair at the General Housing and Military Committee. So we're probably going to be concerned mostly this year with a lot of housing issues, tax credits, and you know, during the campaign, most of us talked about affordable housing, and we don't want this to be just to be an oxymoron anymore. We are really I feel the sense in this house that we're all going to try to resolve this, and whatever it takes to get affordable housing. Now, we don't mean cheap housing. We mean affordable housing where a person will spend, which is spending around 20% of your income for housing. And a lot of us are spending about 30% of our income for housing. And so we're got to try to work towards that 20%. We have gotten reports now that some housing is upwards of $200,000, and eligible couples will now be able to borrow $200,000 for a home from the BHFA. However, you must have to qualify. But again, our impetus is going to try to we can't put a cap on the cost of housing. This just would never work. But we can do whatever we can from legislature to look at the soft costs of housing. There's hard costs, which is brick and mortar, and soft costs is all your ancillary costs. Interest rates, bond costs, permit costs, whatever. I think from a legislative perspective, this is what we can do out of legislature. We can't do much about the cost of materials, but we can do more about the cost of what's driving up the cost of housing. We're looking into, in our committee, we've been discussing some over a few issues in the military, for the Veterans Administration. They have a concern about keeping the scholarship fund going for those dependents of servicemen that have been killed overseas, and we'll be watching that very closely this year. We don't see too many liquor and tobacco issues coming up. There'll always be some, but not that we can see within any in the horizon. But I think from the General Housing and Military Affairs Committee, that's the news for this week, and it'll be we'll be working hard at it. And again, I think our big issues this year will be housing. And some military issues, of course, working with the budget and making sure that we keep our scholarship fund going. So until next week, this is Representative Leo Valier from Barre City, District 1, signing off.
Well, I guess we got through the first week. The ceremonial week has passed. A lot of tradition, pomp and pageantry. Pomp and circumstance, but it's good that it's over. It's still a little slow, even the second week. I think that there are things we could do to make that better. Time is of the essence. I think I've talked about this before, but I believe in the citizens' legislature, and I think that in keeping that, preserving that, I think we're going to have to really pay attention and try and get out of here at a good in a good time frame, so that everyone has an opportunity to run for the legislature. Some of the bills that are coming through go from the absurd to something that makes a lot of sense. We're starting to look at different things in our committee, in the Transportation Committee, but again, it's hard to react to the governor's proposal because he doesn't make his budget address until the 23rd. So we're really just going through last year's bill in both the Institutions Committee and the Transportation Committee to see what we've done and make sure that we've completed some of the tasks that we've asked, and then move forward. So it's good to see winter here, and I guess we'll keep going and build momentum as we move forward. But again, I think time is of the essence, and we have to do our due diligence to make sure that we get our work done.
Well, this is last week was a very important and very active one. Governor Douglas spoke strongly about broadband and energy and the economy, and so did Senator Shumlin, the leader of the Senate, and so did the Lieutenant Governor Dubie. So on questions like the economy or energy, environment, and education, most Republicans, Democrats, and progressives are all agree together that they're important items and should be pursued and key issues for the session. As I've said before, most of us are concerned about the high property taxes and so on. And one reason for that is that the federal government has failed to step up to the plate and pay their fair share of special education, because if they mandate local governments to do it, then they have an obligation to pay for it. Right now they pay 8%, which is disgraceful. And I think our our education committees will work hard to send a message to our congressional delegation. Please take a new look about funding special education in a proper way. And Barry certainly has issues about the health. When I say health, I mean the nursing. We have an RN and an LPN that's been working very well for Barry. And what we're going to try to do is see whether Barry can't continue that system of LPN, because the LPN has been excellent, so it's been the RN. The state now is requiring 2 RNs. That means $15,000. And $15,000 in a very tight budget is a sum of money. So also we're pursuing, our education committee will make sure that to try to pick up on what Barry is doing in terms of the Barry school system is doing it right when they're trying to put together vocational education and regular high school education. There's no need to have 2 different worlds. No reason why students can't go back and forth, and no reason to have any kind of a stigma attached to any part of the system. We'll be putting out a bill this out of our Committee on Government Operations to be introduced today, and basically because of the energy crisis in the 70s, legislation was passed to allow towns to have energy coordinators, and that's a great idea. However, the law says that they should have a 1-year term. We believe that the local government should decide, the select board should decide whether you have an energy coordinator, and number 2, how many terms that coordinator should serve. Sometimes we in the legislature become too prescriptive on local government, and that's not the way we want to operate. We believe that local government, given some freedom, can come up with some ideas that would be very helpful at the state level. And of course, we at the state level feel we can come up with some ideas that might someday result in national legislation. So that's the report this week, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words.
The first week of the session, the Senate Finance Committee has been working at full speed. We usually spend the first week getting a briefing from all the departments that we have oversight on, so we spent one day receiving legislative priorities and just general information from the Department of Public Service. Spent a great time that day talking about broadband and the plans for broadband. Didn't finish. They will be back tomorrow to continue discussion of broadband. Yesterday we had briefings from the Commissioner of Banking, Insurance, and Healthcare. We will be getting more in depth on the progress of the health care plan, but yesterday was an overview. We also heard from the captive insurance industry. It was their day in the State House. They are a clean industry that provides many high-paying jobs to Vermont, pays us many millions of dollars of premium tax. Today, we are, I'm trying to remember what we're doing today. We will be getting briefings on some of our fiscal conditions, education. We'll start looking at the education tax next week. We'll be doing a lot of looking at the education tax, just again general briefings and updates before we do in-depth. And then on Friday we will continue with our discussion of broadband, and we also will have Bishka back to give us their legislative priorities. So that's it on judiciary. We began discussion of the medical marijuana bill we passed a couple of years ago, getting some updates from Public Safety, Department of Health, on how that program is going, and also there are several bills to expand that program and do some adjustments to it. So that's been the bulk of our information there. And I think that's it. Thanks.